tonight's topic, I actually really like this one. It's the momentum starts with identity. So, who are you becoming? And I think that reaching goals doesn't just happen solely by working harder. It really is about focusing on the personal development and going inward and having that aspect affect everything else that you've got going on. But yeah, so we're going to talk about how our self-image shapes what we do and how to start showing up as the person that we want to be. If you guys want to follow along, we do have a document you guys can look at. But yeah, take it away, Monica. Where do you want to
Yeah,
go with this?
so it's one of those things where you hear people say like fake it till you make it, and it has like a negative connotation, but I think it just depends on how, like what perspective you look at it with. And if you don't necessarily feel like someone with a healthy mindset or someone with willpower or someone with good habits acting like the person who would have those attributes, I think can take you further than you realize. Surrounding yourself with people who act that way. And even if you don't feel like you quite fit in, joining like a business group or joining like a running group and being the person that has to walk in the back, like it doesn't matter. You're still like surrounded by people who are doing the thing that you want to do. And that's so powerful that we don't, like we were talking about in one of our other calls, like surrounding yourself with the kind of people that are going to take you to a growth place that you're trying to get to instead of staying stuck where you are. Like you're never going to get better if you just don't make any moves towards that. So, like faking it till you make it before you become successful, like at least getting yourself in a place where like you believe you can be, I think can take you far.
Yeah, and like you said, even just with the momentum of it, because I think it really starts off with understanding what you're working towards and like what your goals are.
Who you're
Um,
becoming.
yeah. And who you want to be. Because, depending on where people are at, sometimes, it's easy for us to think in terms of what we're lacking versus what we have, and keeping mindful of what we're working towards. I mean, there's so many things that comes with that. If it's something new that you're trying to get into, imposter syndrome is something that affects a lot of people. And then exactly with what you were saying with the faking it until you make it, like that can be such an inner battle for some people. But you have
Mm-hmm.
to really recognize that in order to become somebody else, that requires change. And change doesn't necessarily happen overnight. Like it takes steps. You're breaking habits. You're doing so many different things all at once. And I think we've talked about it before, but that activation energy, depending on what you're trying to change, you want to kind of set yourself up for the best way to be able to do that.
And like you said, especially you're trying to break old habits, if you're constantly reminding yourself, like, would the person I'm becoming do that? Would the person that I'm becoming act that way? Would the person that I'm becoming be scared off by that thought or that challenge? Or would they be willing to take that risk? Just constantly checking in with yourself and moving forward. Like, that's literally the only thing that matters is consistently moving forward, no matter if it's teeny tiny little steps, they all matter.
Just with that being said, it's funny because I am literally trying to break 10 habits at once and it is
Mm-hmm.
not working out.
No, that doesn't
Like,
sound like it's a good idea.
no, it's not. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna backtrack and pick the, top two or top three that are most important right now. And keep the other ones in the back of my mind that need to be done too. But just I need to focus on that and breaking these habits. One my biggest flaw is consistency. I'll start something, don't we all? And then finishing it is also is the real accomplishment. So
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
every time I don't, it's hard because I beat myself up and I feel
Right.
bring myself, you put two steps front, what is it? Two steps up and 10 steps back. That's what it feels like. And I
Mm-hmm.
beat myself up about it. So my biggest thing, not just breaking habits and creating new, better ones, because that's what everybody wants to do. But my biggest focus point is going to be just consistency.
And that's why it's important to not try to do 10 things, right? Because trying to do 10 things consistently for somebody who hasn't been doing any of those consistently is just a recipe for disaster. And it's how we set ourselves up for failure and self-sabotage. So picking one or two things, and if they go together somehow, definitely, even if it's like one of your bigger ones and one of your smaller ones, like if you can put them together and find something to replace them with something else, because like sometimes what sets us up for failure is removing something that was habitual and took up space in our life and don't replace it with something else. And so there's always this like longing to get back to it. Like that's why they have people who are trying to quit smoking chew gum, right? Like you've got to replace it with something to keep your brain occupied and to give your that space something new. So that might be something you want to consider is seeing if you can not only stop something but replace it with something that is in alignment with where you're trying to go.
Yeah, and I think depending on the habits themselves too that you're trying to break, as long as you're giving yourself grace for what you're trying to do, because I think that's the biggest thing too, is that you're trying to do so many things at once, it's easy for you to be like, even if you just messed up on one, you're like, oh, I fucked up. Like, no, but you did the other nine things really well. Like, there's something to be said about that too.
For sure.
You know what this reminds me of, you guys? Have you guys seen any of the videos where they'll be like, because they're trying to give a drastic example, but it'll be like you spill a little bit of milk, so they're just like, meh, and they like dump the whole gallon, or like things like that. Like she eats like a piece of something, so she just like dumps the whole bag, and like the whole point is like you would never do that in real life, but it's like that's kind of what we're doing, where we're like, well, I missed a day, screw it, like
I'll try again
Right.
next month. Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
it's like, no, to your point, you're like, if you tried 10 things, like, yeah, but you nailed 3 today. You were doing 0. That's super good, you know, or you were
Mm-hmm.
just like cognizant of these things. Like, no, it maybe didn't happen to the level that you're thinking of success, but like there was progress and an attempt made there that's going to eventually create that habit. But I liked what you guys
For
said
sure.
about the little, like, even just inching forward, because I feel like building habits, it truly does take time. Or like, I never even thought about what you were saying of swapping it out, but I'm like, I can see that in things that I've done that are working now. But you're right. It's like when something's missing, now what? Like, what am I supposed
Yeah.
to do? You know, what do you eat instead? Or where do you go instead? Who do you hang out with?
Right.
I don't
Yeah.
know. You know, it's like having some options or thinking that through can really help
For
you
sure.
through that
And like
time.
if you think about like what's successful is like, you know, you'll see food health coaches and people who
Mhm.
help with dietary stuff. They'll be like, replace it with, or like a healthy dupe for, because it's
Yes.
like you
The
still
swaps.
want it. Yeah.
Yes.
And it can be the same thing with like a bad habit. Like if you're somebody who's like used to just watching TV for 5 hours, okay, put on a podcast and go for a walk, or listen to like a crime video, you know, crime mystery podcast or book or whatever, and go for a walk. Replace it with something else, or get a
Mhm.
treadmill, like one of those little walking pads, and watch whatever the hell you
Yeah.
want, but now you're moving, you know? And so having that swap is can be super helpful. And with the whole like trying to do 10 and maybe you get 3, I still am on the side of doing 2, but being good about like maybe you do it 5 days a week instead of 7 and still feeling good about that. You know, like I was doing it 0 and now I'm at 5. So like I've made a huge jump, that whole like gap in the gain, right?
Yeah.
From 0 to 5 is a huge increase. It's not 7 like you're shooting for, but it's still better than 0.
I think even
Yeah.
taking it week by week too, just
Mhm.
okay, for this week, I'm focusing on this one thing. And then the next week, okay, now I can add the second and then do it that way too to build it.
Right.
Yeah. Or checking
Because
in
now
on
you
how.
have success, right?
Hmm.
You have
Yeah.
proof.
I like that idea week to week too, because I feel like it allows you opportunity to reflect. Like, was that more difficult than I thought? Was it easier than I thought? To kind of go to your point, either like, you know what, I think I could actually like stack something else, or like,
Hmm.
thought I would hit 5 days at least out of 7, and I got 1 to readjust some things. Let's tackle this next week and see how we do. And then I do think you
Right.
start doing that. Like, I know I didn't complete the 75 hard, but even testing that out, I felt like it automatically made me start reconfiguring my days, where like, even if it wasn't a success, like real quickly,
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, oh, I felt like I ran out of time. Okay, well then one workout needs to be as soon as I wake up, because then now I just have to do one more, you know, or those little things where you're like, oh, right before I work out, I should also just take the progress photo, because now it's like, boom, 2 things done.
Hmm.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, and I feel like it's the same thing where you can look at like, okay, I feel like even that part of habit building too, of recognizing, okay, how can you make this fit into your day easier where it doesn't feel so hard.
Right. Habit stacking.
Mm-hmm.
Stack
Mhm.
those babies.
And it's
Yes.
also like, I mean, from what you just said, you're kind of creating a feedback loop as well. And that's how you kind of audit and measure your progress.
Yeah.
Taking
Yeah.
that progress pic and then going about like the main task I try to do that with myself. And for me, I get very distracted because I have so many things going on at one time. I feel like when people meet me, because I mean, I carry a large bag with me, they're like, oh, you're so organized. I was like, girl, if you only knew what was in this bag, it's a mess.
It's your whole
And
life.
it's my whole life. And the thing is it's like I have like this bag that I have power tools and my iPad and money and all this shit that I have to keep track of. And then when it's just me alone and I'm like, what do I need to do? I get overwhelmed. So I try to nail the lowest hanging fruit first. And then the bigger tasks that I need to dedicate like an hour or a couple hours to, I try to time block that. Because it's like, if I have a task list of 7 things and I can nail these 4 things in an hour, I'm hitting that first. And then I'm blocking out an hour and a half to 2 hours to hit like a bigger project to try to take down as much as I can of that. And usually I'm not successful finishing it, but I knocked out 4 things off of my task list. So I feel
Right.
good.
It's the snowball effect.
Exactly.
I like that plan
Yeah.
of attack though. You've recognized it in you and just found a way to like, okay, cool, I feel good about this. Or like you said, well, big or small, like 4 things still got done. You know,
Exactly.
now you've created time to still go back and finish the other project instead of now
And
feeling overwhelmed of like, oh my God, I still have 10 things to do.
I still have like 79% left to do before I consider this bigger task done, but I
Yeah.
knocked off 5% of that. So
Yeah.
it's like, okay, it's better. The mountain is smaller, or
Right.
I'm a little bit closer to that goal.
Yeah.
And I knocked off all this other shit as well. So it's like that's a win. That's a
Absolutely.
win-win.
For
Yeah.
sure.
I would count it as a win. I think you're doing good.
So I think that kind of is a good segue into talking about how you see yourself in the now affecting where you're at. Because I think
Mhm.
that's a big part of it too, of your self-image can really
Hmm.
either uplift you or hold you back. So I'm curious to see where you guys are at, if you even think about it, how you're looking at yourself day to day and how that's affecting you moving forward.
And becoming statements,
I think
that's whenever I start my goal setting. I'll try to do it every month. I'll start with, I am becoming the type of person who, and then I'll list out the things that are my top goals for that month. So I'm becoming the kind of person who walks every day. I'm becoming the type of person who has a successful business or whatever it is that is those. And then I'll hit those markers of like, makes X amount consistently. I'm becoming the type of person who shows up for my community regularly. Like, it's such a good frame for it because it's like not those affirmations where you're like lying to yourself. Like, I am a millionaire. Like, I'm becoming somebody who attracts $1 million or whatever, however you want to frame it, so that you are actually being honest with yourself and you're acknowledging that you're moving towards that.
feel like I want to try that now. That's good. Like
I love them.
you're right, because I feel like sometimes you try the other affirmations to your point, like the millionaire, like I am a millionaire, and like you try it, but there's also this like little bit of disconnect where you're like, but I'm not.
Yeah, your
Like,
brain knows. Your
like
brain's
I
like,
need
I
to
saw your
believe
bank
it.
account
Okay.
just yesterday.
It's crazy. But I like that
Yeah.
idea because then I feel like it also allows grace for the journey too, of like, I'm becoming this. Like,
Mhm.
okay,
Because
I'll
the
start to
journey's
figure
really what
out.
it's all about, right?
Yeah, I'll figure out
Like,
what that entails to get there. Okay, cool. I'm becoming the type of person that makes this money doing something I love or whatever.
right. Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good. I feel like I think about this stuff sometimes, but I feel like it fluctuates like everything else.
Of
Like
course.
it's not.
That's why it's
Yeah.
helpful to have these like
Yeah.
weekly reminders, like, okay, let's tap back in and see where we're
Yeah.
skewing.
I feel like I think about this all the time.
Me too.
And I feel like it's changed to a healthier perspective versus how it used to be. Because it's like before, I feel like I would be kind of watching a movie of myself. Like I'm an
Mm.
audience member watching myself like on the big screen. And before I would kind of make a decision, I would kind of just be like, damn, like, am I rooting for this person on screen, or is this person like kind of an asshole? You know what I mean? And I don't know. It's so easy to judge in that regard, but it's like sometimes I have to just reel myself back in and be like, I'm not perfect. I'm making mistakes, and life is not as dramatic. Life is not as dramatic as a movie. as I'm painting it, as I'm making it out to be. So it's like I got to reel myself in and be like, I don't know. I try to talk to myself as very different today versus how it was probably a year ago, how it was 2 years ago, how it was 3 years ago. And that being able to take a step back and look at that progress humbles me because
For
it
sure.
just, it's like, 3 years ago, I would have, excuse my French, but I would have popped the fuck off on this person. And now it's like I'm in a much different space. Like I'm running a couple different businesses and stuff. And yeah, I can fly off the handle. This is my business and everything, but what is that gonna do? What are the repercussions of that? I'm way more aware and conscious of those things versus when I was 22 and I was just like, oh, I don't care, like whatever. And now I'm just like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, there's something to learn from this. It may not pan out the way that I want it to, but I can still learn something from this. So it's like that's the value that I'm trying to see in these situations. And I feel like that was a little bit off topic, but
No,
that's
because it's really, I feel like those moments, this is how I see it, or how I've like talked to myself about when you have those like objective outer body experiences. I feel like it's your higher self, your future self, whatever you want to call it. They're the same person. Your higher self and your future self, because you are ascending, right? So
yeah,
your higher self, you've been given a gift from your higher self of like, hey, so look at yourself right now. How do you feel about that? How do you feel about who this person is and how you're showing up in the world? Is
hmm,
this how you want to show up in the world? Yes or no? No judgment, you know? And if it's no, then you've seen it and you know how
yeah,
you want to act. You've seen how the future you, the higher self you would want to be in this situation. So no like need to beat yourself up because today is a new day and you can be a completely new person. So allowing
if
yourself
you
to
choose to,
recognize right. And so
if
it's
you
like
choose to,
right. And if you keep beating yourself up in those moments like you did in the past, like that's not, you're not going to give yourself growth. You're just going to
a
keep yourself small. You're going to be
negative
negative.
feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
That's
So
crazy.
taking those times to just be like, dang, that's definitely not how I want to show up and who I want to be. So
Yeah.
guess what? Today is a new day and
Hmm.
I don't have to choose that again, you know? So recognizing those things, choosing to do better, and then like living it, you know?
Yeah. No, that's like exactly.
I think everybody's ready at a different point in time too. And sometimes when you first have that acknowledgement of like, okay, kind of like what you said, like, am I even rooting for this person? That's where you come to like, what is it? The fork in the road, where you're like, okay,
Right.
either I'm going this way and I'm gonna do something about it, or like Monica said, I don't think there's any shame in seeing that and maybe feeling stuck, but that it all goes back to like what you're looking for and where you're at. How ready are you to make these changes? But I think if you take the reminder of every day is a new day, and it's almost like, I don't know, cliche or like it feels cringy, like it's like, can I really be a whole different person the next day? Or, but it really is, the momentum starts with your identity. Like exactly what you tell
Exactly.
yourself is how you can forge what the rest of your day looks like. And the more days that you're intentional about what they look like, the more wins you start to stack up. And that's when the real change happens.
And Jackie's heard this from my partner. My partner like lives by this phrase, and it's like what you focus on, you create. As easy as that. And I remember when him and I first started seeing each other, he would tell me that. And I was like, that's like some real foo-foo hippie shit. I don't believe that. And now that I've been around him, and for me, I used to read a lot of I still do. I mean, like, but I always go into like self-help books, like a super skeptic. I'm like, this isn't gonna work. Like, not believing it, whatever. And then I just kind of go on one page at a time. But being around my partner it's like it really is that easy of deciding, because
Yep.
you can wake up and have a shit mood and have a bad attitude, and that is going to permeate around you.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to be your reality. It's like
Yep.
I'm having such a bad day. Oh yeah, of course you are. Look at what you just said. Versus like, there are people out there who are struggling who have it way worse than you. And
Yeah.
we all have our struggles. We all have our own battles that we don't share with the people closest with us. But the difference is you can decide, okay, I'm dealing with this right now, but right now I'm having a good day. Things are good. I woke up, I can walk, I'm not in pain. I got food in my belly. And those few things, mentioning I'm grateful for these things, that can change your mood like instantly. And if you
100%.
focus on those things that you are grateful for, that dictates your reality. That is what creates your reality. You focus on those negative things, it's going to do the same thing.
Yeah. Because they're going to
How,
be there regardless, right? Like our circumstances and our environment, like those things are not things that we can actually oftentimes do anything about. Like you can move, whatever, but in general, if it's something that is like actually happening to you, it is going to be there regardless. So how are you showing up in that circumstance? The whole like sitting in traffic thing. Like, okay, you're sitting in traffic. Do you want to be irritated by the fact that you're sitting there? Or do you want to put on some good tunes and recognize like I have time to myself right now? Like I'm not getting to
Mm-hmm.
where I'm going to get to for 30 more minutes. Oh well, there's nothing I can do about it. I'm stuck. Let me just rock out. Let me listen to what I want to listen to. Let me whatever it is. Like this is your time to just be. And or you
Exactly.
can be that asshole that's sitting there like honking at people or like
And
why?
I feel like you are also like when you are in those headspaces, good or negative, like you're kind of inviting the same energy. Like attracts
Absolutely.
like. If I'm good, I have a good attitude, I'm gonna attract people pick up on that. You walk into a room and you're happy and bubbly, it's like, hey, what's up? Like, how's your day going? Whatever. People pick up on that.
Mm-hmm.
You walk into the room and it's just gloomsday, people will, it's like jumping into like the water, like with a school of fish, they will just dissipate. They do not want to be
Sure.
around that.
All vibrational.
do you feel
Exactly.
like you are able to better see, what was the phrase again? I don't want to mess it up. That Danny says.
What you focus on, you create.
Do you feel like you're able to agree with that statement more just based off of what you've seen in his own life?
Yeah. And it's like, I could go on about it. I don't know. My frame of reference or my feedback loop is like my own life. And I think about kind of where I was 5, 6 years ago. And I don't really want to get into that, but I was not in a good place at all. And versus today, I have my own struggles. I'm dealing with things that I've been dealing with my whole life. But the difference is like, I know that I'm equipped to deal with them now. And it's because I am making an effort. That I think that that's a huge difference is like, yes, you can wake up the next day and be a different person, but you got to want it. You got to put effort
Right.
into it. And if you don't, then it's just wordplay at that point. You're just saying things. You got no weight
Right.
behind them. And like for me, I really try to hold people to their word because they do the same for me. I don't know. It's your word doesn't mean anything unless you have something to back it up with. And
Yeah.
you got to put some effort behind what you're saying.
When you look at people in general, right? Like you were saying earlier, everybody has a story, everybody has things that they go through, and you can really see what a person's perspective on the things that they've gone through when you hear their stories. That's why I love
Yeah.
talking to people. Like everybody has
Mm-hmm.
the journey and like their experiences and the way that, people kind of digest what life throws at them is really a testament to the way that they think and the things like that they're putting out there. And even just to see like for you, for example, like I know personally that yeah, you've had a journey for yourself. There's other people on this call that I've seen that have really transformed their lives in the last year, 2 years that I've known them, that it's really just all about, what you're telling yourself and how like you reassure yourself when you start putting deposits in your self-confidence bank just by doing the things that you told yourself that you were going to do, you really start to build that momentum of like, okay, I'm headed towards a certain direction. And you get to a certain point when you realize that like that journey's never going to end. We're always going to be constantly growing. There's always another level to get to. And yeah, it's just cool to see like where I believe that we're all connected. People are meant to, we come into each other's lives for a reason, we might not know what that is, but it really like I know in my life I don't believe in coincidences because I've seen too much.
Agreed.
But yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I liked what you were
In
saying
short,
about
the
like,
answer was yes. Like, yes, I do think about it.
yes. I was gonna say I like that you said, if there's not actions behind it, then you just don't believe what people say, And that
Hmm.
that starts with yourself. If you
Right.
can't trust the things that you say to yourself, then there's no business telling anybody else. So if you're
Exactly.
sitting in the mirror being like, I love me, or, this is gonna be my year, and it's like, okay, so what are you doing with that? Like, what does that mean for you?
What does that mean?
What does that mean? And
I
what are
think
you
about it all
doing
the
for it?
time.
It's funny. But yeah, Monica, we can talk about the exercises. I'm sure with the first one that'll kind of play into the meditation. So yeah,
Yeah.
but we can talk about them too before we get into that.
Yeah, so that the visualization, for sure, we're going to do it in the meditation, but it's something that, I love me some Joe Dispenza, and he says to do it every single day. Like every day before you go to sleep, visualize yourself the next day and what you're going to do, how you're going to show up, the things that you're going to crush. Because when you sleep, your mind goes to work. Your mind will problem solve. Your mind will cast visions into the future. Your mind will really just kind of like solidify whatever it is you're thinking about. So making sure that you have solid, positive, I mean, it's up to you if you want to be positive or not, but you are going to get what you visualize, right? So, literally closing your eyes and having that moment of seeing yourself wake up the next day, energized, if that's what you want, crushing whatever goals, knocking out your to do list, going for that walk, hitting that gym, eating that good food, whatever it is, like being loving to your partner, visualizing your entire day just play out in front of you, being cool and calm and collected in traffic, or however it is that you want to be. If you see that, and it can only, you can take 5 minutes. So your brain works so fast. If that's what you're thinking about and visualizing before you go to bed, you're going to see yourself making those changes. And it might seem foo-foo and silly at first, but it really does make a huge difference. And then the other thing that he recommends is doing like an audit of your day before you do the visualization of like, how did I show up today? And being honest with yourself so that you can recognize like, okay, well, so that's how today went. Tomorrow, this is how it's going to go. And this is how I see things playing out. And this is how I'm going to show up. So giving yourself that time to do the future self visualization on a macro daily level can make such a difference. And then, of course, I obviously created an entire like meditation and workbook on visualizing your like future self that Jackie has done, and I think is super duper powerful and kind of gives you like a North Star. So that's how.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely really enjoyed that. It was basically like a prompt, which so Monica actually taught me that you can customize your chat GPT to like really understand you and who you are, and like it helps to cater the responses that it gives you. So I started completely fresh with an account to do that and had a prompt for this meditation that basically it's like a 10-minute thing that I was able to record myself speaking, and like I put some stock images and stuff to create a video for it. But when I listen to that meditation, it's like the most meditation that I've ever connected to because it's specifically to what I'm working towards and like what I want for my life. So yeah, it's a super powerful one.
And I feel like that just tied back into this like identity audit as well, of like writing the visualization before you go to sleep works too on that the identity audit, but like actually writing it down, like what you really believe about yourself, like positive, negative, whatever it is that you believe, like whatever your current circumstances and who you think you are doesn't have to be who you are tomorrow or next week or next month. So yeah, I always invite people to journal that kind of stuff.
Yeah, and then the last exercise that we have is the I am statements. And so rewriting those limiting beliefs in a way that's, a powerful identity-based affirmation. And then, like Monica was saying, having the I am becoming to help you feel more connected to what you're saying. But yeah,
Yeah.
doing affirmations in a mirror, super powerful too.
Agreed. Agreed. Looking yourself in the eye.
Uncomfortable, but it's a good uncomfortable.
I agree. Who are y'all becoming?
I just want to say I've only attended a couple of these sessions, but I was kind of upset that I wasn't here last week. I had a lot going on. And then I got, because I have the post notifications on. It's like, oh, this is starting. And I was like, oh shit, let me go upstairs and join. So I've been looking forward to this week.
Oh, I'm glad. I
Oh,
love hearing
nice.
that.
I love that.
Not blowing
Yeah, I
smoke
love
either. Like if I didn't like it, I'd say it. I really do like
I would hope. I would
it.
hope.
That's hilarious. But yeah, anytime you guys miss them too, I actually do post some recordings. I edit them so stuff
She
that
does.
like people don't want shared or whatever gets taken out. But yeah, we have some. I just actually edited one that was from a conversation back in November that I just never got to. It was about stepping out of your comfort zone. That was really good. Like listening to it again, I was like, wow, I can't believe I took so long to edit this one.
That's exciting.
I'd love to hear from Raul if he's there. I know I'm putting him on the spot. I mean, he's a busy man. He might be going to dancing.
He's
No, I'm
becoming a
not.
dancer.
He's already
Any
a dancer.
Right. Sorry.
Thank you. I am. I'm just kidding. I guess anything specific.
Yeah, well, so it's funny enough, the video that I was talking about back in November, you were talking about how you were kind of being a little bit forced out of your comfort zone with the contract for the work that you were doing coming to an end, but that you were looking forward to, like it was essentially something that you wanted to do, but you weren't taking like the jump to do. And I'm just curious, I guess like an update of where you're at with all of that, how you're feeling and like what you're working on and stuff like that.
Yeah, I was actually thinking about that recently. So when that happened, I mean, honestly, that weight is still kind of off my shoulder. Like I have, I don't know, I don't feel as like drained, but at the same time, I'll be honest, my sleep schedule has kind of gone to even worse garbage. So
Hmm.
that needs to be fixed. But on the topic of like doing what I'm telling myself I will. So I had mentioned that I was taking kind of a break from like everything, including like real estate and stuff like that. And so now that I'm just, like starting to pick it up again, I am noticing that I'm struggling to pull myself back into actually doing those actions. So whether that's like following up on leads or something like that. So I've been noticing that. So it's kind of like I'm not doing what I'm telling myself I will, and I'm not really doing anything to keep myself accountable, like maybe writing in my writing. I don't even have a journal, so if I like started journaling, like writing that down, so I notice, hey, I didn't do this today. It's just kind of like passing, kind of, and I think I'm letting myself, which I'm not really liking. So that
Mhm.
in that aspect, I do need to pick myself up on that one a little bit, real estate wise. But other than that,
Yeah, I think it's harder when you're in a comfortable position versus like I need to like make shit happen or else I'm not gonna eat. You know what I mean?
yeah. And to that point, so I have like basically I've been just letting burning through my checking account because dancing unfortunately is an expensive hobby. So part of me is like kind of doing it on purpose. So when it starts getting low, I'm gonna be like, all right, I need to do something or else, I'm like gonna run out of money. So
Mm.
I'm not at that stage yet. So I'm hoping I'll do it. I'm hoping, but I am hoping that I will do it before I get to the point of like, okay, I'm like a week out of no money, but
Yeah, I think it's just a matter of auditing like the goals that you have for yourself too. Just like even if you just look at it from the this year standpoint and work backwards, and break it even into like the quarters because quarter one's almost done. So we're like, on the tail end of that and figuring out, okay, there's still 3/4 of the year left. What do I want that to look like? And what do I have to do in order for that to get there? But I honestly, I mean, it sounds like either maybe reassessing what real estate looks like for you because if it's like and this goes for anybody. Like you hear people all the time, they're like, "Oh, I saw this video and wholesaling, I can make $10,000 a contract, like I'm gonna do whatever." And like they're just not the person to be on the phones. Like if you feel like, oh, this is hard to do, you kind of have to take a step back and be like, okay, why does it feel this way? Is it just because I'm being lazy? Or do I genuinely like, can my time be better spent elsewhere? Because there's a million ways to make money in real estate. I mean, to make money in general. And so figuring out like what's going to get you excited and make you want to do the things that you're supposed to do.
Yeah, I was
Yeah,
thinking the
that's
same thing when you were talking about it. I was like, it sounds like you're waiting for the pain to be enough for you to like move. And I was like, I want you to be doing something that you like love
Don't
doing. You just
wait.
can't wait. You
and
know what I
that's
mean? You're just
and
like, forget
Don't
that's
this dumb
wait.
job.
that's exactly what like so yesterday actually I was like meditating a little bit and I was like, okay, what is the obstacle that I'm feeling that is like not that I'm not pushing that, right? And it came back to even when I was like briefly going to do wholesaling. So like currently right now the whole lead thing is or finding leads. That's my current like hump, and that unfortunately is like the first thing that I need to do to find, property to flip. And I just that's just not something I enjoy doing.
Mm.
So the whole lead generation thing, I need to find a different route about
Mm.
doing that because that is kind of always what I'm just like, I really don't feel like doing this because I think I have to get to the rest of it to see if I like it, which is the whole point of doing this to see if I like flipping. But I need to get past that first thing that even stopped me from the other stuff. So yeah,
But
that's
that right
basically.
there is good. Like now you have an
Agreed.
answer of like, okay, I know this is a block for me. How do I overcome this? What's the answer to, figuring out? Because there's tons of way. Like you don't have to be the lead generator. There's ways to get leads to come to you, depending on what you like to do. So you got options. But yeah, we can
Yeah.
talk about that
Yeah.
another time.
Yeah. But yeah, that's my update for now.
Okay, cool. I appreciate it. Thanks for sharing. Sweet. Well, yeah, if anyone else has anything they want to share, if not, Monica, I'll start getting the music
The
together.
tunes.
Yeah. Oh, Daniel.
He's locking in.
I love it. Go kill it.
Exactly. Crush it, buddy. Yeah, I want y'all to be excited about what you're doing. I'm gonna make sure I include that in this future self meditation.
Yeah, I mean, that right there goes right into like you create your reality. I just want everybody to understand that the things that you do, you can really enjoy what you do. And that's really what brings the success. Like if you find something that you like to do and it involves bringing value to other people, there's so many different things that you could be doing just to do that. And you're going to make money will come to you a lot easier because it's something that you enjoy.
Agreed. Okay. Everybody get into a comfortable seated position. We want to make sure that we are sitting with our backs straight, comfortable, relaxed. And if you are sitting with your hands on your thighs in cross-legged position, make sure your hands are facing up in a receptive stance. Hands open to receive. Let's take 3 deep breaths in, 3 deep breaths out. With each one, we are going to fill our bellies and our chest. With each exhale, releasing anything that no longer serves who you are becoming. As you breathe in, feel the air filling your body, gathering any residue, any limiting beliefs, any places that feel stuck. The air moves through. And as you exhale, you are releasing all of that debris. And now we're going to visualize meeting our future self. You get to pick the location. Maybe it's at your home or out to coffee. Maybe you're in a park. Whatever pops into your mind, it's there for a reason. And in front of you stands your future self. Future you who has accomplished things you can't even imagine. This you knows all the answers to all of your issues, all of your problems, all of your worries. It knows how everything plays out. And they're looking back at you, smiling with a slight chuckle, because they know exactly where you are. They know how it feels to not be sure, to be struggling. Look at what they're wearing. Are they casual because they've made so much money, they're just on permanent vacation mode? Or they live a life of perfect balance where they make money but they have time to do what they want? Or are they dressed to impress, ready to go to another meeting or networking event or lead a conference? They're about to be on stage. They're going into the office as the leader of a company. Whatever they're looking like, imagine that is what you ultimately want to do, how you ultimately want to live. Who are they surrounded by? Who are they going to meet? Who are they having dinner with later? What do they drive? What do they pull up in? Notice how relaxed they are, confident, at ease with life. There's a genuine smile on their face, a warmth in their eyes. Imagine yourself getting the opportunity to sit down. Ask them how life's going. What are they up to? What does their day look like? As you continue to breathe, imagine with each breath, this vision becomes more vibrant, more alive, more real. You're really starting to see the details. You can hear your conversation. And as you're about to say goodbye, they have somewhere to be, someone to meet up with, something fun, fulfilling that they have to do. They take your hand and they say, "You got this. Just keep going." I believe in you. You wave goodbye, knowing that you're going to see them soon. You're on your way to being them. As they walk off, you feel this new energy, this new sense of peace and excitement. A sense of purpose, motivation. A new momentum to keep going. Breathe into that feeling in your chest. Let it fill your whole body, from the top of your head, washing over you, all the way down to your toes. You can return to this feeling anytime. You can return to this feeling every day. You know what you're capable of. You know who you are becoming. I invite you to put your hand on your chest. Breathe deep. And silently to yourself, or out loud if you feel comfortable, say, I am becoming, and finish that sentence with whatever feels true, whatever is behind all that momentum. It may be as simple as I am becoming my higher self every day, in every way. Let's take 3 deep breaths in and 3 deep breaths out. Repeating that statement with each breath, feeling it filling up our entire body. Feeling that energy cast out into an energy field around us. With each breath, filling our body. With each exhale, feeling it. Creating a field that goes further than you can imagine. We're sending this message out into the universe. Thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for sharing space with Jackie and I. We appreciate each and every one of you. The light in me sees and recognizes the light in each of you. Namaste. Take a few more breaths and stretch. Wiggle your fingers and toes. Come back to the room.
Thank you for that. That was awesome.
You're welcome.
I actually did it laying down.
Ooh,
And it was really
I like it.
nice. Yeah.
I like it.
But yeah, guys, well, thank you for a great conversation as always. I hope that there was something you could take away from this conversation. And really just know that Monica and I are always here for any one of you guys that ever want to talk a little bit more, maybe one-on-one with some stuff that we're going over. And
For sure.
yeah, biggest thing is just making sure that you guys know that you create your reality and what you guys want to accomplish, you can do. And it starts with how you see yourself.
Absolutely.
Sweet. Yeah. Unless anyone else has anything to add, we'll see you next week.
Have a good week, guys.
Bye.